So I just want to welcome everyone to our third research workshop session of the Department of Family Medicine. So thank you for being here. And it's my honor today to be welcoming Karine Fournier, who is a research librarian with the Health Sciences Library at the University of Ottawa, and Mish Boutet, who is a digital literacy librarian. So they will be speaking to us about the reference management software Zotero and Covidence today. So welcome, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. As mentioned, my name is Mish Boutet. I'm the digital literacy librarian at the University of Ottawa. And so I'm taking charge of the first section this evening, and then afterwards Kevin will take over for the session on Covidence. So I'll be talking about citation managers in general to begin with, but then I'm going to focus specifically on Zotero. All right, so I'll just take a step back, talk about citation management generally. So what is a citation manager? A citation manager is a tool that lets you collect, organize, and cite information. So it's your own personal database of books, journal articles, book chapters, conference proceedings, YouTube videos, any form of information that you want to keep track of and eventually cite. All citation managers, whether it's Mendeley, Endnote, or Zotero, have the same basic functions. They do largely the same thing in general, just each one specializes in certain things over the others, or even has drawbacks over the others. Why would you choose one citation manager over another? I'll give you a few criteria today. But one of the things I find is that it's largely dependent on what researchers around you are already using. So if you join a research group and everybody's already on Endnote, you kind of need to go with Endnote because that's necessary for you to share libraries with one another. Or if people have group libraries that are shared in Zotero, that might be a reason to go with Zotero. So I find that Endnote is pretty popular in medicine and health sciences because Endnote is the sort of the powerhouse citation manager. It's the most expensive, but it's also the most powerful of the three. In Mendeley, for example, I find it used very highly in the sciences and in engineering. It's the one I come across the least frequently. I guess I don't interact with researchers from engineering all that much. And then in the social sciences, I find that Zotero is highly used. So I find I'm using Zotero most often myself. So discipline or research team is sort of one criteria. And then there's a few other criteria as well. I'm going to start sharing my screen. When I share my screen, I won't be able to see the chat, but every now and again, I'll pop back in to see if there's any questions in the chat, or if you need to interrupt me, you can always put your mic on. So or right before I go to share, I'm just going to drop a couple links into the chat because I am going to the University of Ottawa's guides on citation managers. So I've put the link for the French version and the English version of the citation manager there. Oops. And now I'm going to share my screen. So here we go, share. And here we go. So I'm starting from the library's homepage, which is biblio.uottawa.ca. And the links that I just dropped into the chat, if I scroll down a little bit, there's the link under research for citation management. That citation management link, this is what I've given you the link to. So we have a tab on Zotero, a tab on Mendeley, a tab on Endnote. So whichever citation manager you decide to go with, there's supporting information there. Often, libraries will provide these sort of citation manager comparison charts, and they can be useful, but I don't find they always hit on the right points of comparison for making an informed decision. I mean, one of the significant options that I see here, Zotero is the only citation manager that has a French language interface. It lets you have an English language interface or French language interface. The other ones are English only or provide other language interfaces which aren't French. Other things to consider, Zotero is free to download and use the fully functional tool. And it gives you 300 megs of online storage for PDF attachments. One of the useful things of citation managers is that you can store your PDFs inside the citation manager and sync it up to the cloud so that all of your articles are saved up in the cloud, so you can use it on multiple devices and research on multiple devices. Zotero also has integration with Microsoft Word and Google Docs. That's another unique selling point of Zotero, is Google Docs integration. Zotero is open source, which means that even Zotero will always be available. You can always open it, always access it, always use it. Whereas if Elsevier or Clarivate decide to end support for their tools, some of them, like Mendeley, you might not be able to access because you require a login to use Mendeley. Endnote, you'll be stuck with the last version of Endnote, but you should be able to continue using it until login becomes mandated for Endnote. The drawback to Zotero is I find that Zotero slows down when you have large libraries. So if you find yourself with thousands and thousands and thousands of items, either because you do large scale reviews in your Zotero library, or you just do so much research that you have thousands of citations stored, Zotero might start to slow down and it might become a little bit unpleasant of an experience. Mendeley gives you a bit more free online storage. Mendeley gives you 2 GB for free. So it gives you a better deal in terms of the online storage. However, there are some issues with Mendeley in the sense that it automatically deduplicates when you import items into Mendeley. So again, if you're doing reviews and you need to keep track of items imported and you need to figure out numbers for deduplication, be careful because Mendeley sometimes cuts your numbers as you're importing. And then Endnote. So Endnote has 2 versions. There's a free web version of Endnote and a paid desktop version, and they are 2 totally different versions of Endnote. The free online version is very limited, and I know very few people who use that as their citation manager of choice. If you're going with Endnote, you might as well go with the desktop version, and then with the desktop version, you'll need to pay for it. Students can get it for about $140. Non-students need to pay close to $400 for the full version of Endnote. So it is a financial commitment. So hopefully you have either research funds or you're part of a research group where the principal investigator has research funds to buy it for you. Just an interesting thing to mention about Endnote, because Endnote is owned by Clarivate Analytics. And recently, Clarivate Analytics purchased ProQuest, and ProQuest makes RefWorks. So now you have one company with 2 big citation management tools, Endnote and RefWorks. So I don't know what the future holds. There might be some merging of those 2 tools or something. So just something to keep in mind if you choose to use Endnote. There may be big changes in store or not in the future. And so that's what I'm going to give in terms of overview of the differences between those 3 citation managers. For anybody who's used a citation manager, was there something that you particularly liked about Zotero or Endnote or Mendeley that I haven't yet mentioned?
I like the icon on the website to be able to straight pull out the data information from that web page to be included in the Zotero. I think that's very helpful.
Right, and I'll demonstrate
the connector.
that. Yeah, the Zotero Connector, and I find the Zotero Connector works the best out of the 3 tools. So that's something that I find is particularly good with Zotero. All right, so that's my introduction to citation managers in general. Well, now I'm going to talk a bit about Zotero specifically, because again, open source, free, French interface. There's really no downside to give it a try because there's no financial investment to get started. So I'll go back to sharing my screen, and again, I'll pop in a little bit later to see if there's more questions. So Zotero, you go to zotero.org, and when you download Zotero, there are 2 components that you need to download. download the software. So you do need to install Zotero software to your computer. So you need to be working on Windows, Mac, or Linux. It doesn't work on Chromebooks, for example, or tablets. So you download and install the main installer. And then you also add a browser connector. And the browser connector will let you click a button in your browser to automatically pull the citation information that's present on the page into Zotero. So those two tools work together. And the browser connector, it works for Firefox, it works for Chrome, it works for Microsoft Edge. There is a browser connector for Safari, but my understanding is that there's still compatibility issues with Safari. So you might experience some difficulties until the next version of Zotero is released, which I believe is going to be sometime next year. So you download and install, you install the browser connector. It just takes a moment. I reinstalled the browser connector and there I go. And once you've installed the browser connector, the first time you install it, you might see a little Z at the top of your browser, a little Z button. But Zotero's button is unique in that the button will change shape depending on what it sees on the page. So I know it's very small in my screen share. Right now it's a little page with a line at the bottom, which indicates a web page. And afterwards, I'll show you if there's other sets of results on the page. It'll change to either a page with lines or a folder. And that's just to indicate that it sees a specific information type on the screen. So once you've installed Zotero, I'll go over to Zotero. This is generally what you're going to see once it's been installed. Citation managers usually operate in a three-paned kind of setup. You go from more general on the left to more specific in the middle to most specific on the right. And I'll explain what I mean by that. On the left, you create your folder structure or your groups or your collections, whatever it is the citation manager calls that organization structure. And that's how you organize all the different citations in your citation manager. In the middle is going to be the list of citations. So when you first install Zotero, it'll look like this. There'll be nothing there. But eventually, you might get dozens or hundreds or thousands of individual citations. So each of these is either a journal article or a book or a book chapter or a conference proceeding. So your lists, when you select a specific group, it'll show you all the items from that group in the middle pane. And then once you've selected an item from your list, on the right is the individual metadata, the individual citation information for that one item. So I have this one article selected. It's a journal article. This is the title. These are the author's names. Sometimes there's an abstract included, and it gives you all of the necessary metadata in order to cite. Now, just while I'm here, with citation information that you pull from online, invariably there's going to be mistakes. An author might be missing, or a publication year might be incorrect. And with all these citation managers, you can make corrections on the fly just by clicking on the metadata, typing in the correct information, and either clicking off or in Endnote's case, there's a save button to save the changes that you've made. It goes from broader to more specific. So to go back to the broad side, you can create collections to organize the items in your library. With Zotero, you can either right-click on my library, or right above my library, there's a folder with a green plus. Either of that will let you create a new collection, and you can create a name for your collection, click OK, and then a new collection will be created. The reason these citation managers call them collections rather than folders is because they're a little bit different from the folders on your computer. With this article here, I can drop this article into multiple collections, and it'll appear in those multiple collections. Whereas usually on your computer in a folder structure, you put a file in one folder and that's the only place that it lives. And this is an important distinction to make, because taking a citation and putting it in multiple collections is different from having the same citation twice in your library. It's different from having a duplicate of an article. One thing that you want to avoid with citation managers is you want to avoid having duplicates. If you have duplicates, then there can be some confusion caused at the time when you're writing up in Microsoft Word or writing up in Google Docs. If you have a duplicate in your library and you create a bibliography, you might find the same item in your bibliography listed twice because your citation manager thinks those duplicates are two separate articles. Now, Zotero has a little duplicate items detector on the right here. If you click on duplicate items, it'll go through your library and try to match things up by title and author. And if things are very similar to one another, it'll flag them as possible duplicates. And you can see them here and remove them. Endnote has a much more robust system for identifying duplicates because you can set the parameters yourself on how to identify duplicates, either by things you can do either title and author, or you can do authors, journal, and year of publication, or any combination of things to find duplicates that might not otherwise not be found, because maybe in one version of the citation, you have the title plus the subtitle, and in the other version, you have only the title without the subtitle. So Endnote is much better at detecting these duplicates. All right. So I'm just going to jump back to Zotero here, because one thing that you can do before you get up and running is you can create an account. It's totally optional with Zotero. It's free, and there's a couple of benefits to creating an account. One, you get to store your library online, so you can sync your citations and PDFs to the cloud. And that's great because you'll have a backup. So if something should happen to your computer, you lose your hard drive, you lose your computer, you still have a backup of your citation management library online. The other advantage to having an account is that you can create groups and share those groups with others, so you can collaborate together. So for example, one thing you can do with Zotero is if you create a group library in Zotero and you have a shared Google Doc, then suddenly all of you can work on the same document with the same Zotero library and collaborate on a cited document together, which is pretty unique. You can't do that when it's much harder to do that when you're using Word. All right, so you can create an account. The only information Zotero asks is for a username and an email address and a password. And that's important because what I'm going to show you is a couple of settings that you might want to set inside Zotero. After I show these settings, I'll pop back into Zoom to see if there's any questions up until this point. So I would go to Edit and Preferences. And if you're using Mac, you would go to Zotero Preferences. Now, again, this is a bit small, but I'll try to describe it. So there's a few settings you might want to set by default to help your experience with Zotero. Under this General tab, there's an item that says Automatically Tag Items with Keywords and Subject Headings. I suggest you deselect that so that when you pull in items from PubMed or from Ovid Medline or Embase, you don't automatically get hundreds and hundreds of new tags added into your library based on mesh headings and entry subject headings. It just starts to overload your tags, when tags is something that you should be in control of to organize your own library. So that's one thing. Two, if you go to the Sync tab, this is where you would click to log into your account. You'd enter your username and your password, and you'd connect your online Zotero account with this installation of Zotero so that you can sync and save. There's a little green circular arrow in the top right corner of Zotero, and every time you click it, it just syncs your Zotero library. All right, two more settings for now. One, if you go under Site, and in Site, there's a tab for word processors. So when you install Zotero, Zotero will add the Microsoft Word add-in automatically. However, sometimes if you're already running a Microsoft product when you install Zotero, the installation might not work properly. So here you can check if it's installed, it'll say reinstall Microsoft Word add-in. And if it doesn't, it'll say install Microsoft Word add-in. You can click this. You can make sure that all your Microsoft tools are closed, and then it'll install the tab in Microsoft Word, which I'll show you afterwards. One last item. Under the Advanced tab, under the Open URL section, there's a resolver that's the default resolver. It leads to a site online called WorldCat Libraries, just an online confederated library database. But you're gonna, if you're at the University of Ottawa, I'm gonna give you a link resolver to add into this line right here. It's long and complicated, so I'll put it in the chat. But if you add the University of Ottawa link resolver here, you can use a feature in Zotero called Library Lookup to try to find the full text PDF of anything that you're missing in your Zotero library. So I'll click OK. I'll copy that resolver text and I'll put it in the chat. So I'll just stop my share for a moment. So again, it's a long URL. It's in the chat, but it is also in the University of Ottawa Citation Management Guide that I've given you the link to as well. Everything that I'm telling you tonight about Zotero is also in the Citation Management Guide in the Zotero section. So any questions up until this point? All right, so for the next section, I'm going to show how to import things into Zotero. And then after that, I'm going to show how to use Zotero with Microsoft Word. And then if I haven't taken too much time, I'll quickly show a couple of other features of Zotero. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. All right, so again, this is my Zotero library, but when you get started, you might not have anything. So let's start to populate Zotero with some citations. So what you would do is you could go to any sort of database that you're used to. Oops. I'll go to biblio.ottawa.ca. I'll go to find databases A to Z, because here's our list of some of our main databases. And I'll start off by going to PubMed. So here in PubMed, I'm just going to do a quick search. I'm going to do a title abstract search for Zotero, see if there's anything in PubMed about Zotero. I add that to the query box and I click search. And I get 20 results. So if I look in the top right corner, I see that my little Zotero button has changed. And it says save to Zotero PubMed, because it can see the results on the screen and I can import them to Zotero. If I click on that button, right now 10 results are popping up. But I can see that there's 20 results here. So I'm just going to scroll down, click on show more results. And now I've got the full 20 here. And then I click on that folder and I can choose individual items that I want to save here and bring to Zotero, or I can select all, and all 20 of those items will be pulled into Zotero. And when I say items, I mean the citation information, the metadata. So the title, authors, abstract, data publication, that information. Full text PDF is not necessarily going to be pulled over, but when Zotero is able to find the full text PDF and pull it, it'll do that. So right now I got a little pop-up box saying saving to my DFM file, because in Zotero, whatever folder you have selected at the moment, that's where citation information, citations are going to be pulled. So here, I now have 20 new items in my Zotero folder. If I click on one of them, I'll get all the metadata here. And again, I can spend a bit of time when it's necessary to ensure that the metadata is correct. So that's a way of pulling multiple results at a time. You can also pull individual items. So if I click on any one of these items, here I'll click on the title of one of these items, and now the Zotero button has changed to a page with lines on it. So for this one individual item, I can click the Zotero button and it'll pull that item over to my Zotero library as well. There's a problem though. Pulling that individual item just created a duplicate. So now you can see I have this article by Tricarico, sorry for pronunciation, twice. So I can either select one of them, right click it and say move it to trash, or preferably what I would do is I would click on the duplicate items. And here Zotero has identified that there's duplicates. If you click on one of the items, it'll show the two that it believes to be duplicates, and you can click merge the two items. When you click merge the two items are joined together in a single item. So the benefit to doing it that way is if you had one of those copies in one collection and one of those copies in the other collection, by merging them, they'll still stay in those two collections. Whereas if you manually delete one of those duplicates, it'll be removed from the collection that it was put in, and the other duplicate will stay in its collection. So with duplicates in Zotero, it's preferable to merge them. Also, if one of the entries has a PDF attached to it and the other one doesn't, by merging them together, it ensures that the PDF is not removed. The PDF stays there. I'll show you one more place. So for example, if you go to Google Scholar, you can do the exact same thing here. So I enter Zotero. And again, with Google Scholar, I get the little folder button, which I can click, and I can select the individual items. I'm not going to save right now. So one thing I'll say about Google Scholar is that the metadata you're going to get from Google Scholar is usually going to be slightly lower quality than the metadata you'll get from a subscribed database. And you're always going to get the best quality metadata from the original journal page, the original source that a journal article comes from. So the reason why I have Google Scholar here is I'm going to see if I can click through to an original journal page. All right, and so if I pull the citation information here, Zotero a product review, then I should get the best quality metadata here. All right. Just want to check my notes. Oh, another thing that you can do. So say you've been doing research for years without using a citation manager. So you have a big collection of PDFs already on your computer. Well, another thing that you can do is you can take your PDFs and you can just drag and drop them into into Zotero. So just try to expand this. So I have this PDF article here. I drag and drop it into Zotero. And what Zotero is going to try to do is it's going to try to recognize the PDF. So it's retrieve metadata for PDF. It's taking a moment to think about it. And there may be a bit of a glitch with it this evening because usually it recognizes this article without issue, but at the moment it's taking some time. So I'll just leave it there. But you can drag and drop PDFs into Zotero, and it won't necessarily have a 100% success rate in identifying PDFs. It does very well with popular English language journal articles. If it's in another language or it's not a journal article or it's from a lesser known publication, the success rate might decrease from there. So one thing that I mentioned is library lookup. So library lookup is a way that can help you try to find full text. So I have this article here. And when I click on this little arrow beside it to see if I have a PDF full text, I see that I don't. So I'm going to try to find the PDF full text for this one item here. what I can do is up at the top, there's a green arrow that says locate. I select that and I click on library lookup. So this is why I put in the University of Ottawa link resolver, because now it's going to search in the University of Ottawa's holdings to see if it can find full text. And again, it's not always able to. All right, I'll try one more. Try this one. Again, library lookup. And I seem to be having a few issues with my computer today. If my computer were working properly, there would be a list here of databases that the article is available in. And I would click one of them, and then I would click on the button, the Zotero button, to save the citation and the PDF. And then I would merge the duplicate with the original one that's in my library. But my computer's acting up a little bit, so I'll keep moving for now. So those are ways to import citations into Zotero. And once you've done that, once you have a populated library, then you might be ready to create a document with Word. So I'll take a couple of minutes to show that. And then if there's any questions, I'll take a look for questions again. So I'm going to open up a Word document. I've got a report underway, but I need to insert my citations. So once I've opened up Word, if Zotero has installed correctly, there will be a Zotero tab in Word. If there isn't, then again, close your Microsoft products and through Zotero, reinstall the Microsoft Word add-in. But I've got a report going and I've inserted a direct quotation. So when I quote something directly, I need to insert a citation. So you make sure that you have Zotero open. You put your cursor where you want to insert the inline citation. And in the Zotero tab, you click Add Edit Citation. A red Zotero box will pop up. And in this box, you can type in an author's name or a title that you're interested in. So I want one of the articles that I found about Zotero. And let's say that I will choose this first article, Zotero, a bibliographic assistant to researchers. I click on that, and it'll start to insert an inline citation according to the citation style I've selected. So I'm working with APA 7, so it'll show author and date, but I'll show you how to switch that on the go if you need to. Since this is a direct quote, I might need to add a page number. So I can click on that citation that's being built, and a little pop-up will appear that lets me put in the page number. So say it's page 200. I press enter, and then I press enter again, and Zotero will pop in a correctly formatted inline citation. I'll do just a couple more. So now I've got a paraphrase. So I go to where I want to insert the citation, I click Add Edit Citation, and I want another one of my Zotero articles. This time I'll choose this one, Zotero Harnessing the Power of a Personal Bibliographic Manager. It's a paraphrase, I don't have a specific page number, and I press enter. I'll try that again, I press enter. There we go. Ooh, I'm starting to sweat here. My computer's a little bit unreliable. A couple more. So this time I'm summarizing another article. So I add edit citation, I type in Zotero one more time, and this time building student proficiency with scientific literature, and I press enter. So I've got 3 citations added so far. I'm going to do one last one, and this time I'm going to cite 3 articles, including one that I've already cited. So I click Add and Edit Citation. I'll start typing in Zotero again. This time I'll scroll down and I'll use this article by Trinosky. So I select that one. I start typing in Zotero again. This time I'm going to use this one from Moran. And then I'm going to use the Core and Sewell one again. So I start typing in Core's name and I can select that. So I have 3 items cited in the same citation. I press enter. And Zotero is smart enough to organize them by author's last name, because that's what's required for APA style. So now, say that I've finished my report, I've inserted all of my citations, and it's time to create my bibliography. I go down to my list of references, and I click the Add Edit Bibliography button, and then that's it. The bibliography is added, formatted again to the citation style that you've selected. So the process isn't over though, because again, I've mentioned a couple of times that citation metadata from online might have errors in it. So you still need to know your citation style, and you still need to know your items to be able to look through the list of references to make sure that there's no errors. If you see any errors in your bibliography here, then go to Zotero and make the corrections in the metadata here. Instead of, do not make the corrections here. Because if you make the corrections here, the errors will still exist in Zotero. So the next time you cite those items, those errors will appear in your new bibliographies. But also here, if you make a correction, and then at some point you select refresh, then all of the work you've done to make changes will be reverted because it's going to pull the erroneous data from Zotero again. So make your changes inside Zotero. Say that I've done all this, and then I found out that I shouldn't have used APA, I should have used Vancouver instead. If I were doing this all by hand, I'd have a couple of hours of work ahead of me. But since I'm using Zotero, I can go to Document Preferences, and I can look at the list of citation styles that I have and select Vancouver and select OK. And it'll switch from APA style to Vancouver style on the fly. Now, I may be mistaken, but I think with Vancouver style, I would need to have the inline citation on the other side of the period. So there might still be a little bit of finessing to do to adhere to the citation style. So that's a quick overview of pulling information into Zotero. And then once you have it in Zotero, how to use it with Microsoft Word to write a report. Now, I mentioned that Zotero works with Google Docs, and the experience is largely the same. The Zotero tab has pretty much the same buttons and functions the same way. But I'll stop sharing. And so at this point, with either the Microsoft Word integration or pulling items into Zotero, do you have any questions with that? Can you copy folders from Dropbox Link Folders from Dropbox into Zotero by the drag and drop method? So you mean you have a Dropbox folder with PDFs in it? So if you have if you have a Dropbox folder with PDFs, open up that Dropbox folder, drag and drop all of your PDFs into Zotero, and Zotero, working better than my version of Zotero, will go through the process of trying to identify them and identify the metadata. Yes. All right. So there's just two more details that I'm going to show. Two other additional features about Zotero. These aren't sort of core main features. They're sort of additional features, but you may find them a bit interesting. So one more time, I'll go back to sharing my screen. So I did mention that Zotero allows you to create groups. So in my Zotero, my group libraries are down here. So each of these is a library that I share with other collaborators. So with your 300 megs of storage space that you have, that only counts in a group library if you are the owner of the group library. So if you create the group library, anything stored in there counts to your 300 megs for free. If somebody else creates the group library, they're picking up the tab. So feel free to join other people's libraries for free. One of the unique things about Zotero's group libraries that other group libraries don't have. So I'm at Zotero, I click on the Groups tab, is that there's three types of groups you can create. So usually groups are private groups that you share with other members, and all members can collaborate in the group. That's the way groups typically work in Endnote, for example. But with Zotero, you can also create public groups. Public groups is that anybody online can view these libraries as you're building them. So if you want a publicly available library, you can create one, and you can choose open membership so that anybody from the public can join in and collaborate, or you can have closed membership so that anybody can see your library, but they need permission in order to join, to edit and add and remove citations. So there's a few levels of groups inside Zotero. So if I go to my, oops, I think it's because I logged out. There we go. So I log back in. And if I go to my groups, then I have a group public. All three of my groups are public with closed membership. So I can go into one of them. And this is the public view here. So I can look at it publicly here. Or I can look at it from inside my Zotero tool, and I can delete items, I can add items, and I can cite from this in my Word documents. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about is Zotero groups. The last thing that I want to mention is PDF handling, because I'll go to my library here. I think it's this one. So when you have a PDF inside Zotero, it'll be in a little arrow drop down from the citation information. So here is the PDF. Now, in the current version of Zotero, if you open up a PDF, it opens up in your default PDF reader, whether it's Adobe Reader or if you use a different PDF reader, it'll open there. But you can still highlight things, you can still add annotations, and then you can save it, close it, and then those annotations and those highlights will be saved in Zotero, and it'll be synced online. So you can keep your annotated PDFs stored inside Zotero. The version of Zotero I'm using here is the beta version of the new version of Zotero that's going to come out next year. And it has an internal PDF editor. So if I double click PDF, it'll be opened in a new tab inside Zotero. And from here, I can add a post-it note to make a note to myself saying like, this is very important. Or if there's a particularly good quote, I can select that quote and I can highlight it. And Zotero will create these little items here. Now this is useful for keeping notes for yourself for your research, but then Zotero does a couple more things with it. So here in Zotero, I can create an item note from the annotations that I just made. So now Zotero will create a little post-it note for me that I can look in my main Zotero database. I'll show you in a second. And so it pulls out my annotations and it pulls out the quotes from the article that I've highlighted. Now, what's useful about that? If I go back to my library, I can search for the text in those notes. So this is very important. If I search for that, then the annotation, this is very important. Maybe if I put the exclamation point there, it'll remove some of the other items. So that's one thing that I can do here is I can search those notes and search those annotations. So if you want to find that perfect quote that you had, then it becomes searchable. And then there's one last feature, because these annotations that you create, you can now insert those into Microsoft Word. So if I go to Microsoft Word and I select a part of my report, I can click on Add Note, and I can find the annotation, like the note that I created, and click that, and that gets inserted into your report from Zotero. So you can write fragments of a paper from inside Zotero based on a specific paper that you have, and then pull those into Zotero. but I'm going to stop there. One, because I've used close to my amount of time, but two, because there's so many other details about Zotero that I could share, but I don't want to overload you. So before I finish up, are there any questions, or is there anything about Zotero or citation management that you particularly like that I haven't mentioned that might be helpful for others to know?
I have a quick question. This is Sylvie. With regards to the web-based group library,
Yes.
If it is a public one,
Yes.
and we have PDFs that had to be paid to access, do they all of a sudden become public?
No. The public libraries share the citation information, but not the attachments.
Okay, thank you.
The excellent question, and that's very important for for subscriptions. It's the private libraries where attachments are shared. Thank you. Other questions?
Mish Arya here. I'm wondering if there are such features as social network analysis or some metrics that I can use Zotero for. For example, if some papers are being referenced by others, can I kind of see who is referencing who? Is that possible or not?
That's a good question. Just the base version of Zotero does not do that, I don't believe. However, if a citation manager does do it, I think it would be Zotero, because since Zotero is open source, people are creating add-ons and plugins. So what I can do after this session is I'll just do a quick check to see if somebody's created any kind of social network analysis add-in or plugin for Zotero. And if I do find something, I can pass it to Maddie to maybe share. And yeah, so again, base version, I don't believe so, but there's possibly a third-party plugin that does. Okay, well, what I'll do is in the chat, I will put my email address, mbute@uottawa.ca. So if you have any questions about citation managers, if you forgot something that I mentioned and you want me to remind you, or if Zotero isn't acting the way I told you it would act, feel free to get in touch with me. I'd be more than happy to work through citation management with you.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Karine Fournier, and I'm a librarian at the University of Ottawa. And I want to do an overview today of Covidence, what it can do for you, how to get started, how to set up your review, how to import references and full text, how to go about with the full text screening, the title abstract screening and the full text screening. And also we'll talk about data extraction a bit. So what is Covidence? Covidence is an online platform for comprehensive reviews production. It's not just for systematic reviews. And of course, now my cat is making some noises, so I apologize. So it's online. You don't download anything compared to what we just saw with Zotero. So you would basically everything will be an online version. And Covidence help save time and streamline the processes. So that's what we're going to see today. And it allows for international collaboration. So we'll talk about that in a minute. The first step, though, is for you to get the full University of Ottawa institutional subscription. So you need to sign up. Covidence provide a free trial version for anyone. But since we subscribe to the full version, you should benefit from it. And so I'm going to plug in the chat in a second this link, just in case you haven't done it or you don't know about this already. Oh, and one thing quite important, I think, for some of you, because I know some people don't use their UOttawa email frequently, but to be able to sign up, you need to use your University of Ottawa email. and be able to access it, then to be able to do the next step. So then that's about it for my PowerPoint. We'll get started right away. And also I'll plug some more in the chat, where we also have an online guide for Covidence, which cover most of what I'm going to say or talk about today for sure. Okay, so give me 1 second. No, don't. Okay, sorry, I'm just going to stop quickly my share just so that I can put in the chat at least for the first thing, which is oh, there we go. Thank you, Maddie. you did it for me. Thank you so much. Okie dokie. So I'm gonna share again. Okay. So once you've done the first step, which is to sign up for Covidence, you will. Sorry, I'm just trying to minimize this. Okay. So it will, once you all set up, it will bring you to Covidence. It will first of all bring you to this screen by default, because you haven't created a review already. So for me, I just clicked on this start a review, but you won't have to do that yourself at first. The first thing, of course, they ask is for you to name your review. It needs to be unique, at least for our world. It's not a super big deal, but if you call it just systematic review, it's not going to work. But the main important thing here is this. I'm not sure why they provide your name as an account, because it's basically the free trial version, but always select University of Ottawa. So basically you have two things to do. Give a name to your review in Covidence and select the University of Ottawa as an account. And then you click create review, and that's the first step. That's done. Next, sorry, I'm just going to jump in my review where I will show you everything. The next step, it's the settings. So that's what we're going to do. And I forgot to mention that if you have any question along the way, just please do mention it, over the mic, as Mish said, or you can plug in the chat, and I'll make sure that I go in the chat a few times. So the settings. So there's a few things I want to review with you here. So we'll go over all the tabs here. So the first tab is that's where you could change the name. Let's say you don't like the name you gave previously, you can change it here. You can delete the review if for any reason that's what you want to do. That's where you can do that. These two boxes, search strategy, your review citation, usually I don't see people adding anything here. You don't have to. You could if you want, for sure. But I just wanted to make sure I mentioned this to you guys. Reviewer required for screening. So as we know, for systematic reviews, scoping reviews, these type of comprehensive reviews, usually we have to be two people independently reviewing everything. So that's the default in Covidence. And we'll see what we'll see in a minute what it looks like. But you could always change it to one. So, okay, I'm not going to do it now, but when you do that, it means that all these abstracts, only one person will review them. So there's it changed basically how we do reviews. But if you are using Covidence, but it's a narrative review and you doing it for yourself, by yourself, or it's it's a class project, whatever it is, then of course you can always change it. So that's where you would do that. Same thing for full text and data extraction, because all these steps are usually required to be screened independently by two people. So that's the default, but you can change it to one. I've been asked, the question is, well, if we are 5 reviewers, let's say it's a big project and there's a big team of people working on it to do the screening. Yes, of course. The default is always 2 reviewers, but you could be 5 people doing the screening, because Covidence randomly allocate these abstracts for the first step, for the title abstract screening, to reviewers. So you could be many people doing the screening, but it's 2 people that will see each of these abstracts. independently to vote on them. And so, you know what, I'm going to jump here because link to what I just said, in team setting, you can add a rule. So the default is sorry, I've jumped here quickly, but the default is everyone can do anything. But if you click on this option here, manage rules, it means that you could say, well, only one person has to review everything. Let's say it's the one of the main reviewer screener. So you decide, that's your choice. So let's say you are 5 reviewers, but one person will review all the abstract. That's one way to do it, and you can do that if you want. But if not, the default is everyone can do anything. So again, the abstract will be randomly allocated. Same idea, sorry, for full text review, but the default is everyone do anything for full text review, or you can manage the rules for the same thing. As for title abstract screening and full text review, you can also say who will resolve conflicts. So that's where you do that. But the default is anyone, again, or you could say only the PI, for example, will resolve conflicts, so you would pick the person here. So these are the main things I wanted to show you in team settings. So it's a complement to in review setting where we saw that, you know, it's usually 2 people that review everything. So I was in team settings. Sorry, I kind of jumped in there quickly earlier. The other tab called reviewers, it's pretty straightforward. This is where you invite people to join your review. So if you say, you know, as I said, you have a big team of people, so you basically just have to put their name and their email and click invite. And this is what I meant as well with the fact that it could be anyone from around the world. So you can invite people from other institution. You know, many researchers will collaborate from all around the world, sometimes on projects. So they will be able, even if they are not within the University of Ottawa settings, they will be able to review a work within your review. The important thing is for you to be, sorry, I'm just jumping, I shouldn't jump. You are the person with the University of Ottawa institutional account, so you can create the review and have the full version. And these other people coming in, even if they are not with the University of Ottawa, they will have access to your full review. But if they wanted to create their own review on the side, they could, but it's only going to be the free trial version, except if they decide to pay, or I don't know. Okay, so I'm just saying they will be able to join in, even if they're not from the University of Ottawa. Okay, so that was under team settings where you, in reviewers where you invite people. The next tab I want to talk about is criteria and exclusion reason tab. So some people don't put their exclusion criteria here, but you can. It means that they will show up when people do the screening. So it's to ease the screening, basically. So I'll show you what it looks like in the screening phase. So you add them here and you click save. But the main important thing from that section of the setting is, sorry, click too quickly, is this here. Manage exclusion reasons for full text review. I would say that this is important for you to have a look and decide what you want to do. Let me explain quickly. When we are doing the full text screening and you are excluding a review, an article, you have to give a reason for exclusion. And Covidence have a list of exclusion reasons, the default one, but you can add any of them. Like this one, it's me who added it, no outcome measured. Or you could say, you know what, that's not what I need. I don't want this to as an option, so I delete it. Just remember, this is just a list. It's not going to end up showing up on your, at the end, but it will be a list that shows up in your list of exclusion reasons, and you can add any of them here. So you click, you name it, and you click add, and it will be added here. You go at the bottom and you click done. Let's say you delete something else. I don't know, this one I will delete. There we go. And you click done, and that's it. So you can go back here anytime. I guess it's better, of course, to have everything set up at the beginning, but along the way, if you end up, there is something that you didn't expect, then you can come back here and add a new exclusion reason. So again, I'm in the criteria and exclusion reasons in the settings. This one is called Manage Exclusion Reasons for Full Text Review. Okay, next one here, Manage Highlights. So highlights is basically another way to ease the screening. It will basically highlight words, either because they are good for inclusion, or you say, you know what, I don't want any study that are, I don't know, let's say it's the editorial. So I would add something for, so it will highlight it in another color, and to show you, oh, this is an editorial, let's say it says that, or it's something else. And you don't want, it will make it quicker for people to see, oh, so we don't want this. Of course, we advise people to still read carefully the abstract, but it's just another way to ease, again, everything. So once you have added things, you click done. Last thing here under the settings is study tags. So study tags, in a way, it's a bit the same principle as the highlight. You can add a tag. It's not, well, okay. I added, for example, something, conference abstract, meaning it's something that it's basically a tag is to alert your other reviewer about something. So I'll just add something like test, and I click add, and it's added automatically, well, right away. So in a nutshell, we'll come back to the study tag and highlight when I go in the actual screening to show you what it looks like, because now it's a bit abstract, and I'm sorry. I have to show one thing at a time. So basically, these are the settings. The important things are adding your reviewers here, the theme settings, and the exclusion reasons for full text are the main ones. Once you have, organize all your settings, then the next step is importing the references. So that's what I'm going to show you. It's quite simple, but well, no, it still needs to be explained, I guess. Sorry, I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to click on the button import, and it asks to say where you want to import those references. And the default, usually it's when you start a project, it's on the screen for basically the title abstract screening. That's where you want to send them. And then browse means, again, that you would open a file on your computer. So at this step, before you be able to attach a file, you need to, so basically before you import, you need to export from a database. So I have PubMed and Medline on Ovid open. So I'm going to jump in PubMed. And I've done a very quick search, and just to show you the principle of what we're going to do next. So what works with Covidence is a file that you have extracted from the database. You save it on your computer, and then you then will be able to import it in Covidence. So you've done a search. What you next have to do is click save. You need, well, usually you would say all results. Again, when people do systematic reviews, etc., you would say all result, but for the sake of this demonstration, I will just use the one on this page. The format here is important. It needs to be PubMed. So again, you click save, format PubMed, create file. So automatically it will, well, for me on my computer, it asks me to save the file, yes, no. Some computers, again, Macs or whatever, they don't even ask you and they just save it. Once this is saved, this file, you go back to Covidence. As I was explaining, you say where you want to send them, and usually it's on the screen, and you click browse. Sorry, now it's going to go under my downloads, téléchargement. So my downloads, and I select the file in question and I click open, import. We've done this with other type of systems, so it's the same principle. So I've only imported 10 references. So a few things to note here. Oh, sorry, it's jumping a bit out everywhere. So it imported those 10 references, and the Covidence didn't find any duplicates. So I want to talk about it for a second here. But I just want to explain something. So Covidence to work, it needs the citation, the reference, the abstract, and that's it. So we're not yet with the full text, the PDF. So basically what I need from the database is only those references. As I said, from PubMed, it would be just the list of references, and it does grab the abstract, okay? And yes, Covidence will look for duplicates and remove them automatically. And it does a good job. So when Covidence kind of was introduced a few years ago, so people were comparing it with other tools, because before Covidence, or before these systematic review software, we would remove duplicates within a citation manager, such as Endnote or Zotero, other ones. So we don't need to do that step. Some people still do it, but I've been talking with my colleague, and now most of us, we recommend to just do this. Although some database, not a lot, very few, will not have a file that is compatible with Covidence, so that direct step between the database and Covidence, unfortunately, you'll have to add a citation manager in the middle. And it's, as I said, it's the list of database that needs that, it's very small. And I have a blank, I think it's Web of Science, but no, is it? I think it's Web of Science that has this issue. Because that's me jumping to the next thing, is that usually what we do, most of the database we have will, you will be able to export an RIS format. Sorry, I'm just going to explain what you see now. So I'm just going to do it again, but this time with a database that is on Ovid. But as I said, Ovid, on EBSCO, Scopus, many of our database will have this format that is compatible with Covidence, which is called RIS. So I'm not going to talk about how to do a search. We covered that before. So basically, I'm in Ovid Medline. I did a quick and dirty search. I go down, I scroll down until I see the results. Usually, again, you would do all results. You select them all. To be noted that if you have more than 1,000 references, you will need to export a range. So you will have to do 1 to 1,000 at the time. Like after that, it's going to be 1,001 and to 2,000. So long story short, usually you could do all, but except if you have more than 1,000 references. So again, for my demo, I have only 27 references. So I click the button all. So it's to select them. After that, you see the button. Sorry, I'm just going to make my screen a bit bigger. Export. So this is a button, and then you click on it, export, and it shows up this screen, if you wish. It pops up, and you need to change the format to RIS. So this is what I was talking about. This is the preferred format for most of our database that will be compatible with Covidence. Okay. Under fields, usually we would recommend complete reference so that it has everything all the metadata that Mish was mentioning and the abstract and everything will be grabbed. So usually we would recommend that you use complete references. So I repeat, you click on the export button. No, first all export, and then you change the format for RIS, fields, complete reference, and then you click the button export. And again, it will ask you to save the file. You say yes. If it's a larger file, it might take a few seconds. And then you go back in Covidence, click the button import. Okay. Under import into, you select under screen and you click browse. Under my downloads in my computer, I go find my file. There we go. And I click import. So now I've done the same search in PubMed and Medlines. Well, kind of, not the exact same search. So it might find some duplicates. Sorry, it's jumping around. So, and it did. So you see, I only imported 10 references from PubMed. There were no duplicates from my previous pack of references and already in my review. But here, those 27, it removed 3 because they were duplicates, and now 24 were added to my project in Covidence. So basically, Zotero, what was that? Okay, I have this folder here. It's not huge. So what you would do, let's say you have folders like, well, sorry, I use the word folders. I know it's collection in Zotero. You would export the collection, and I'm sorry again, all my settings are in French. So you go under Zotero, under your collection. For me again, I'm sorry, I'm using the right button thingy. Right click, how do you call that? Anyways, on my mouse, and it says exporter la collection. So export the collection. I'm sure there's another way to do it, but anyhow. So you click on that, and here, again, you select the format that works with Covidence, which is RIS, okay? And yeah, sorry, again, it's in French. I don't want to export the notes, and I don't want to export les fichiers, would be the PDFs, but it wouldn't work anyway. So basically you click it if it's clicked or if it's selected. You click OK. Oh, it asks me to save the file somewhere. So I'm just going to put it here again in my downloads. And once this, again, same idea, same principle, you extract from Zotero the information, you export the references, and then here you come here, you import. So it was called Scopus, and then open, import. And it will look at those references, only 6, and see if there's duplicates, and then it will be added. Great question. I should have mentioned it. I'm sorry. But yes, if you have put everything in the citation manager, not just Zotero, but all of them, you can export your full list of references and send them to Covidence using the RIS format. Title and abstract screening. Yay, now you have done your search, you have imported all your references, and now you have to screen a few thousands. Sorry, not all the time it's as big, but let's say you have a few. So you click here the button continue. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes explaining what you see here. First thing first, with these references, usually they will grab an abstract. Sometimes you might not see an abstract. And if so, well, this one is an older one, so it's not going to work. I'm sorry. Maybe I should. Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, if we don't have an abstract, the most recent references will have a DOI. So you could click on the DOI and just double check on the journal website if there's an abstract and was just not in the database. If it's a commentary, letter to the editor, these kind of paper don't have an abstract. So it's just good to maybe double check. Okay. So, sorry, going back up. You know, when I said in the settings, you can add your criteria, it doesn't show them by default. You click the button show criteria, and they will show up here. So you'll be able to use them, or the screener. Everyone can, have a quick look, and when you scroll down, they stay at the top like that. So that's quite neat. So if you don't like to see that all the time, you don't have to show them. Oh, the highlights are there by default. Sorry, I'm just going to scroll down until I see one. Gee, I don't have one. Great. I should have highlighted more words. Like I should have just said research or study, just to show you. Okay, since I'm talking about that, the default will probably be relevancy. So I don't know why, but they say the list of what you can see will be the relevancy by default. So you can change the way you see those abstract. So I changed it to most recent. And again, there we go. So for the word resilience, because it's one that I wanted highlighted, it's highlighted here. So that's what it looks like. That's just what I wanted to show you. And you can hide the highlights. If you find it's too distracting, of course, you can just hide them. And every reviewer, every screener can do these by themselves, because it's only when you're in your own account that you can say, I want to see them or not. One thing, although, is the tag. So if you want to add a tag to a study, that's what you do. You need to select it. One, you click the button tags, and sorry, I didn't try it yet, but if you add one, you basically have to you can create one here, or if you use one that exists already. So basically, that's what you do. There we go. Okay. I thought it would add my tag. It didn't. Okay, I'm sorry. I tried it before and it worked. I apologize. Okay. The other thing is you can add notes. So you could say, as we saw before, whatever note you want to add, you can, for any paper, you say, I want to add a note for my fellow screeners to see that. So it doesn't show by default, but you need to click view OneNote to see what it is. Because I'm the one who wrote it, I can edit it as well, or delete it, the note, I mean. So there's all these things you can do for yourself and for the fellow reviewers. But basically, the important thing to do here is voting. So once you've read the abstract, you decide, do you want this article to go to the next phase, which is the full text screening? Then you vote yes. If you vote no, it's also okay. Let me just try a no for another one. That's it. It goes away. If you say yes, it goes away as well. Okay. Okay. I just want to say quickly, maybe it's basically a yes. So just maybe remember, if you are going to be doing a lot of maybes and the other reviewers are saying yes or maybe, then all of those papers will go to full text review as well. So I would maybe say, sorry, it's my editorial here, to be careful with the maybes. So sometimes it's accurate because you're not sure, so go for it. But just so you know that all the maybes are basically yeses, meaning they are going to go to the full text screening, if there's 2 votes for yes or maybe, of course. So the resolve conflicts here. So I'm going back at the top. I'm going to click on that, resolve conflicts, because this also is quite important. As we said in the settings, you could decide who will do the conflicts, resolve them, and you can decide. So the person that can make the decision, or if it's anyone, that's okay too. So they will make a decision. So a conflict means it's someone who said no and someone else said yes or maybe. So that is a conflict. So you can now decide again. And the final decision means 1 vote will make it go to either full text screening or the list of no's. And for them in Covidence, I'm not sure, but anyways, they call them irrelevant reference. You can even review them if you want. So all all the paper that had two people voted no to them, they will be sent to irrelevant reference. It's not because it's there that it means that you have to review them, no, but I'm just saying it's there for you to have a look. Yeah, so title abstract screening, quite straightforward. Even it gives you a link to team settings, but it's here as well. Next step, full text screening, we call that full text review. So I go here, I click continue. Oh, and just so you know, I mean, it's up to anyone to decide what they want to do, but you could start full text review even if you're not done with the title abstract screening. It's possible. Like now, I haven't done all the title abstract screening, but I can start on the full text screening. So, okay, here's there is a few things. As I mentioned before, when you import your references from a database or a citation manager, it grabs only the reference and abstract. It doesn't grab full text. So you will need to add those full text, and that's what it will look like. It says add full text. And so I don't know if you remember in Zotero or other citation manager tool, there is different function for you to maybe within the tool to grab those full text. Here, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So you will need to grab them from the library collection and add them once it's been saved on your computer, basically. Same idea, you would have the file and then you click browse and you'll attach it. So yes, you will need to do it one by one, but although we have another function here called bulk upload PDF. This option, it's quite technical, but it's doable, but you need to do it with a citation manager. And we've tested out with Zotero and with Endnote, and it works quite well. I'm not going to demo it today. I think it's just too technical, but we have guides, and I can point them to you at the end, where we have a step-by-step how to do it. And I've tried it, and I'm not a computer person, so, and it works. What it means is that, let's say you have 50 or more paper to review full text. So it will be a bit cumbersome to do one by one to add those full text. So what you could do is use that bulk upload. But just so you know, you need to work within the citation managers that I mentioned. But maybe under 20 minutes, it might be done. So it could be useful for that reason. So for now, I'm just going to add a full text that I have here. I have it, put it on my desktop just to make it easy. So basically, so again, it's not this one. Okay, I say open. So I grab the PDF, but of course, to go get the PDF, it needs to be either from the library collection, from the catalog, or again, from all the different ways Mish mentioned within Zotero. So basically, you need to have the PDF saved on your computer. And then after that, you'll be able to see it. So once you have attached the PDF, you need to, I find it not extremely useful, but anyways, sorry, another tutorial. So you need to click on the name of the PDF to see it. It will open a new tab. At least it does that for me. And I have my full text. So basically you read it and you go back to Covidence and you vote. Do I include this? Do I use it for my review, or do I exclude it? And if you exclude something, as I explained before, you need to give it a reason. So this is where, so when you click, on the exclude button, it will show you the list of reasons, and you decide You can even edit the list right away here, like adding a new one, for example. So I'm not going to do that now, but you would click confirm, and that means that one vote for no with the exclusion reason will be added, so that another person will as well need to, do the screening, read it, and vote. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have had a conflict, because if the reason for exclusion is not the same between two reviewers, it will go to conflicts. So again, just for someone to review everything and decide. Or again, if someone says include or someone else say exclude, it will go to resolve conflict. And I apologize, I forgot to have some of them here to show you what it looks like. Many people, after they've done the full text review, everything is done, then they might leave Covidence for the next step, which is data extraction. But Covidence do have a nice embedded tool to do data extraction. So I still want to show it to you. But yeah, I just want to mention that many people at this point would use, I don't know, Google Sheet or Excel to do their data extraction. But let's take a few minutes to have a look at data extraction within Covidence. So the first thing is to, well, I go here, you click, once all the full text review will be done, you will have a study to do data extraction with. So you click the button continue. I'm sorry, I'm just going to make my screen a bit bigger. So Covidence, the first thing to do in data extraction is a template before you even start doing the extraction itself. So you click on this button called data extraction template, okay, at the top. So there's a lot of different things on the screen. So let me walk you through it. Basically, you work with the editor. So Covidence has created one template. Okay, so again, it's made for more clinical studies. So all the information here would be wonderful for a review where it's a clinical questions, etc., a medical clinical question. So you could say, I want to remove everything and start from scratch. So it will be completely empty and you do everything one at a time, which is okay as well, of course, if you want to do that, because it's the same principle. What I will show you now is how to edit what you see. Okay, so what you see here, this is what you do, and this is the preview, what it looks like. So general information is just a heading. So you see it here, it says H1. Okay, let me just click on the plus button. So when you click on the plus, it asks you first, what do you want to add? A heading, a subheading, a text file, or let's say a multiple choice question. So let's do text file. So it will be added after the one so it's this part I find a bit not very intuitive, because it looks like the plus sign for this one, which is called study ID, but it's basically going to add a new one under it. Okay, so let's call it test. So basically, you see, whenever I type something here, great, it adds it here right away. And because I selected what exactly did I want, what type of information I wanted to grab, I wanted just a text box, open, an open, sorry, not an open question, but free text. So that's what it looks like. So there you go. If you want, so that's how you add something. Sorry, I'm going to show it again. So if it's a multiple choice, so you want to make it your life and the other reviewer life easier, and you add a multiple choice. So sorry, I'm not good at inventing things right now. It's a bit late for me. So there we go. So you've created a new data extraction. I shouldn't call it a question, but anyhow, with the choices that you want the people to use. So that's how you would basically add anything in the template. If you don't like something in the default template, you can delete it. So for study ID, let's say I don't want that. I click delete in the left-hand side. I'm going to delete my test grade. So I click on it, and it will show me this box here on the right-hand side. No, sorry, left, my goodness. And I click delete. So that's quite simple. And again, the preview is neat because it shows you what you see. And they've made very good ones. Like usually we would like study design, so you should probably keep it. Sorry, I shouldn't say whatever you want to do. I added something here because it was not in the default one. So pre and post testing was not one of the study design. So for me, it was important that it was separate from something else. So I added it. So to add something, basically you would come here and you just enter and then you type something else here and it will show up, as you can see on the right hand side. So yeah, I find it pretty straightforward, but I know we see a lot of things on the screen and it's the first time you're seeing this, but in a nutshell, that's how you would create or edit the form or the template they are using here. So if you're starting working on this and you're not finished, you could just save it as a draft. And when you're done, you click publish. So you need to publish it so that you can use that template for data extraction. So I'm going to just leave that page. I'm not going to save that. Okay, so now that I've done my template, I will begin extraction. So I just want to show you that. So I click on begin extraction for this paper. And here it's a bit better in the sense that it shows you both the paper, the full text, and the form, the template, the form for data extraction. So you can add the information here, whatever is you need to select. So there we go. Okay. And if you are, you have to leave, you cannot finish one, you click save. But when you are done with data extraction for one paper, you click send for consensus. And now I realize that going back to the question, if you didn't add the PDF, then you won't be able to do this because basically this is using the PDFs that I added at the full text screening phase. So yeah, I'm not adding additionally again a PDF here. So I'm just going to leave that page just to show you a few more things. So they say add full text, even if I have one here, and if full text is the PDF, but when you click the begin extraction, it shows you that double page where it's the PDF plus the data extraction table. The next thing here is quite important is continue consensus. Well, it says continue because I started it, but it would be, I can't remember the wording, but it's to do the consensus. Okay. So again, two people will do data extraction independently, reviewer 1 and 2. And if the information put in there, sorry, I have one here, that it's not the same. So one reviewer said this is a cohort study and the other one said it's a prospective cohort study. Bon, okay, so what do you do? First of all, it says you have this nice purple text, decision required. So it shows you, okay, this is not good because it's not the same. So you click here to add your own text, or if you click on one, let's say I click on this one, it will bring the text to the consensus column. Okay, sorry, now that I clicked on it, it won't say decision required anymore. But that's basically in a nutshell. You decide which one is best, Or if you don't like it, you make it your own, you write it out yourself here as well. And when the two reviewer information is the same, then it doesn't, you don't have the purple box that shows up. And so again, what the person doing the consensus can save the draft or complete it. So when you complete it, it means that it's final. Usually the next step is exporting all this information. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I might be going a bit fast, but there's a lot of technical things here, but basically in data extraction, you create a template if you want to do the data extraction in Covidence, of course. Then you do the extraction, two people independently again. And after that, again, you'll be deciding who do the consensus in the settings. So you will be, the person doing it will be doing the consensus. Usually, once you're done, you would go to export. So there's different ways to go to export. I clicked on it from the data extraction, and it basically say to you, what do you want to export? Do you want all the reviewers or only the consensus one table? And it exports it where you in CSV format. So basically, you'll be able to put everything in Excel and use that information as well. Sorry, I'm just going to go back. So I was, oh, sorry. I was here, and I click on export. But before I have a few more things I want to talk about with the export function. But before I leave here, there's a few things. First, I didn't talk about quality assessment, but yes, you can do quality assessment. That's what we usually call critical appraisal. We can also do it in Covidence because they have templates, same idea as the data extraction, and you can format it for your own needs. I'm not going to go in there now, but I just want to tell you that it's possible as well. Okay, so since I'm in the export part, I wanted to talk about it for a minute as well before our time is up. Usually, okay, you've done all the screening, full text, title, abstract, and full text. What you could do is after that, export the included studies to, I don't know, Zotero or something else. And it basically means that if you have not used Zotero up to now, these, it will create a file where you can import it back to Zotero. And again, here I'm talking only about the references, but this will be important when you start doing your analysis, because you need those references for the analysis part of your review. So exporting the file, and that is usually a RIS format. Well, here I selected Zotero, and then you download it. And same idea, it will save it, and I can, well, since I have Zotero open, I can import it. So I go here, and where did I save it? Here, right? Oh yeah, that's one. Sorry. Since I had only two included, there you go. So I have my two references, and I can use that to cite and do my bibliography and all of that. Oops, sorry. I just wanted to mention that you can export at the different stage the references. Again, just the references. Just to bring your attention as well to a new, well, kind of new feature within Covidence, the inter-rater reliability, which basically calculate the kappa coefficient. What's the full name again? I'm sorry. The Cohen-Kappa coefficient, yeah, Cohen-Kappa. So it creates another file, which is a CSV again, which will be sent, or you can open in Excel. So basically, it means that it calculates this number, this coefficient, where it will say, well, is there, sorry, I cannot speak anymore. Our reviewer, are they quite consistent? So that's basically what it means. Sorry if I don't have a good explanation, but basically Covidence does that in the background. So you can export the information when you are done. So you can do it at the title abstract screening phase or the full text review phase after you've done that work, of course. Okay, I'm almost done. Next is the Prisma. I just want to show you that Covidence, again in the background, track all the work that you are doing, you and your reviewers. So it says how many study you imported. So basically it creates a Prisma diagram. It's basic. And it says, well, I'm not done, of course. So I screened 11 papers at the title abstract stage. Two only were voted no. And at the full text study stage, I excluded one, and you have the reason. Again, when there is a consensus on the reason, it will show here. And I only have 2 studies included. But long story short, this information also you can export it. It's the raw data that you're exporting, so you can build again your own diagram afterwards. So this is also, I find, quite a neat feature of Covidence, because it's not everyone that know that Covidence, or at least these kind of software, do that. So it's it could be, anyways, it's a nice added bonus if you wish.
Thank you so much. That was very informative, and I think folks will be able to use it now as a tool to help screening for literature review or systematic reviews. So thank you so much. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to email me or Karine, and we'll gladly answer these. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.